Hello, welcome to the After Show, which is going out to every pony for episode 4 of My Little Pony. Friendship is magic. So, how was friendship? Was it magic?
Magic.
It was interesting. Like,
friendship was interesting. Okay.
I didn't know, like, for the system, like, I didn't know how I felt about it after the first episode, but it started growing on me, like, by the end.
It's a really simple system, but I think they did a really pretty decent job at like making it very simple, but also having some depth to it. It's made for kids, right? So
yeah, exactly. But that's what I was like thinking about it in like that context, because like it's easy and simple, but it can get a little deeper if you really want it to be that way. Like if there's like, I was thinking like if there's that one kid in the group that really wants to do something super extravagant or extra, or like really like they can really add their imagination to whatever actions they're trying to do, it allows for that, which is pretty cool.
It's very RP driven, like you were saying. And that was one of the things when I first talked to you guys about it. I was like, it's pretty much like I said, I've seen, and like I will only have you roll if it makes sense for you to roll. But I did find that I felt like sometimes there needed to be some kind of like perception roll, which would be mind, I guess. So I felt like you guys were rolling mind more than anything, which felt a little weird to me. But other than that, I generally like the system.
I think perception is like the most commonly rolled thing in most systems.
I think
and that's just like the way a lot of RP ends up happening, which is interesting. Like that's separate, I think, from this system. That's just like
I think it's probably because they were assuming that you'd get like everything you could possibly perceive you'd get, unless you were deliberately like trying to investigate something like really close up. Like in general, like if you go into a place, then they're like, what can I see? I think they, in this system, because they're so simple about it, they'd probably be like, yeah, you can see anything that's like deliberately not.
And I was generally doing that. I was telling you what you saw. Like, here's everything that everyone sees. But if you want to look closer at something or get closer to something, then it's a little bit more, right?
Yeah. No, it's a hard balance. Like, I think that's something that a lot of GMs/systems struggle to balance anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think it was like bad in this one. And when you only have 3 stats, like it's hard. And especially when you have a group like us that really tried to find non-conflict, like non-fighty ways out of things, like we're not going to end up using body nearly as much as we're going to use mind or charm.
I think they probably
we did good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you guys did
great. Until someone decided to punch some pony.
I had to add some drama because at that point it was just kind of us like on a linear path towards getting to the story, and I was like, I gotta add something juicy.
Oh no, it was beautiful.
Like towards
the
end. We
also
never
made her use her healing, and then she could have actually
know.
healed like the queen or something. That could have been a whole nother situation.
It's just their healing didn't work because they're crystal powers. And I was like, well, I could heal the queen. The thing is, I felt that probably wasn't resolved because we got to the end. It was like, there has been no real resolution to that.
Yeah, and we never... Oh.
The punching in the punching of winter.
Yeah, we never really wrote a message to Celestia.
Oh, we forgot to do that.
Dear Celestia, I learned to not trust Yo-Yo. And
Dear
after I tried to help Yo-Yo out and fly Yo-Yo because Yo-Yo was tired, Yo-Yo was like, well, I did punch you and that was wrong. But it was totally justified, so I put Yo-Yo back down. And they can walk their own ass up the stairs.
But you already brought me to the top of the stairs, so I got what I wanted. Just kidding. The way I saw it from like Yo-Yo's perspective was that like Yo-Yo is a playful kind of crazy pony, and so like you were saying something that was obviously like really rude to say in the context of like we just met the civilization and you're cracking jokes and like puns, and I was like, shut up. And then obviously I punched a little too hard, and Yo-Yo in Yo-Yo's mind is like, oh yeah, I didn't do anything wrong, I was just, I obviously punched you, I'm sorry I punched you, but
you knocked me 1/3 of the way to unconsciousness.
I know.
You rolled well, and you're kind of a weakling.
Yeah. Actually, Winter's not that weak, right? Winter's...
No, she's got one of the highest bodies.
Yeah, Winter's got the highest body, if not joint highest body, because I've only up body.
Yeah.
Is there one thing that you wish that we would have done in this campaign?
Ooh.
Like an avenue we didn't go down that you really wish we would have?
I don't think so. I really made it, like, I had a general idea of each episode of, like, what the beginning and the end was going to be. But, like, the middle parts, I had, like, here are some ponies you can meet, and here's some other things that you can do. But, like, I was trying to make it not be too specific because I wanted to really just allow you guys to do what you wanted to do.
I liked the freedom. I liked how much freedom we had. It was almost so much freedom that I didn't know what to choose a lot of the time. I'm like, oh my God,
I felt like
so
sometimes
free.
that was the case too. And I was like, I don't you know, like it's a balance that I'm still learning as because I'm a fairly new GM.
I thought you did great, but I have really not much to compare it to. So.
I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was really weird about this system too, is like I've played in a few RPGs and I feel like for this one in particular, it was very difficult not to talk over other people. Like I just think it was something that the system lend itself to because it was, I don't know, it was really weird because like I've played
part of
RP
the
heavy
nature
ones.
of My Little Pony is the ponies that tend to bounce off each other a lot more, and because we were always working together as a group, is we never had really a time when one person would be doing their thing and the other people might or might not be there. So you tend to always be trying to bounce off people, especially as Smiley and Yo-Yo, because you're always bouncing off of people. Like, that's your thing.
Yeah. Like, that was, like, I don't know. I just felt like it was very difficult. Like, I felt like, even when I wasn't trying to talk over people, I felt like I was at one point. And I was like, oh, God, how am I doing that? Like, I don't know how I'm doing that. I'm like, I'm sorry. I think it's just because we got so into the world and we're just like,
Well, you all have your reactions, right, to what's going on. So I think it totally makes sense, especially for your characters, because you'd normally do that. I think for a show, you always just have to be like, okay, that person's talking. Like, just kind of be like, oh, no, you go first type of thing. Unfortunately, when that happens, that's how it has to go. But yeah. And I think EE put it perfectly. Like, that's the kind of characters that you have, right? You have characters who would just butt in and interrupt.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just with their characters. I think it's also just the ponies in general tend to bounce off each other a lot more. And it's a lot about not necessarily just the normal character interaction like you might have in any other show, but it's a lot more about the closeness. Like, they build upon each other, they respond to each other, as opposed to other things where it's like someone might have some drama, someone else then has their take on that drama, but it's very much like, this is now time for them to have their take on the drama. Whereas with us, it's they build upon and ponies build upon each other and all that. Like, it's very much they work together and they work off each other as a unit.
I really liked your
like comedy improv. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
It's like comedy improv, right?
I mean, that line up
My
right
Little
there.
Pony's a funny show. It's funny. So then, because of that, it's a back and forth type of thing. It's just weird in this kind of a setting where it doesn't go back and forth as effortlessly.
Yeah, that's the challenge of it not being scripted.
Yeah. Which is also the fun aspect of it.
You didn't use the scripts we gave you?
Shit, you guys wrote scripts again? Ugh, sorry, I forgot about that.
Well,
Happens
not
to me
making
every
mention of the
time.
camera.
it was so difficult to be fully wholesome. Like, because, like, you want to crack jokes and you want to be dirty and you want to be nasty, but you don't want to be nasty in character. But the real you's like, I have to say this joke.
So, yeah,
You
Yo-Yo,
are
tell me.
filthy, Dylan. Filthy.
Yeah, you kind of are.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, if I like, and I think it was like, if I was like, if I knew that there was kids watching this, I definitely would have like.
Oh yeah.
100% of the time. But it's
and our
because
audience is not, so you don't have to worry
yeah.
about that.
Like, I know the audience of Roll4It, and Roll4It is very not wholesome. Like,
What are you talking about?
How dare you? No.
Like, I don't know. It was hard.
We should put a poll out, like, we're interested, audience. Are you wholesome or not wholesome? See what they respond.
I'll put out a tweet.
Self-wholesome.
Really.
Asterisk, like, wholesome as in, like, not full of holes, the other version.
Yeah. I was like, there's going to be at least one reply from someone who's like, wholesome?
Not the kind that...
Maybe wholesome, not wholesome, or full of holes, wholesome.
There we go.
Yeah.
You know you're going to get a lot of the full of hole ones.
You just add them onto the not wholesome one.
People will just vote for the weird thing just because they're like, that's the weird one.
That's not a useful poll.
No,
Yeah.
you just add them onto the non-wholesome, because people who are going to do that are not wholesome. It's fine. They're full of holes.
Oh, that's good. I
You
like
just combine
that.
those two
That's
ones.
accurate.
Yeah.
That's accurate.
Okay. I like it. Sorry.
Clearly, we need to release this poll though before this video comes out, because otherwise people will know.
Bias the poll.
Oh, it's gonna.
Yeah.
I'll do it shortly after we.
There we
record.
go. I mean, it's a good time now to do the poll, so just leave that up, pin it.
Oh, everyone's asleep.
Not the non-wholesome ones. Non-wholesome ones are still up.
Wait, that's you, E. You're talking about yourself, you know.
I know. I'm in the category. I'm perfectly happy that I'm non-wholesome. I can do wholesome if I need to, but I will revert.
You did.
afterwards.
Everyone questioned your wholesomeness. I think
You
towards
did a
the
good
end, you
job.
were not being very wholesome.
Towards the end, the problem is I'm a terrible person who bounces off other people. And as soon as Dylan went less and less wholesome, I was like, okay, excellent. I need to vent now, so I'm going to vent that non-wholesome.
You could have taken the high road, but no.
I am not aware. My GPS doesn't actually take high roads. All it does is say how to go down.
What was the first unwholesome thing we did? I can't remember.
Yo-Yo was born.
Was
I
it
actually
called
think you
Boo?
guys you kept it together, like in character.
Yeah, in character we kept it together.
Was probably when Winter was really mean to that really buff.
No.
Oh,
That was still wholesome in the My Little
we
Pony
lied to
way.
the security guard.
That was not wholesome.
No, it's not wholesome as in just general wholesome, but it's totally within the My Little Pony spec because it's something that like Rainbow Dash or whatever would do easily. And she like Winter is 70% Fluttershy, 20% Rainbow Dash, 10% Rarity. Like that 20% is like she will protect her friends, and if people like piss on her friends or whatever and like complete dicks to them, she'll be a little bit vindictive, but in like that kind of passive
That's
vindictive
not
way.
wholesome.
It's in the show. It's wholesome enough to be in a kid's show.
Still not wholesome.
It's wholesome. Well, the show is not meant to be wholesome. Then the show is meant to be My Little Pony wholesome, right? We're meant to be mirroring the show. So
Okay. Well, it depends on what you're considering as wholesome.
well, I assumed that we were trying to be mirroring the show in tone wholesome.
But I think in character, your guys' characters didn't do anything unwholesome then, if
And
that's where you're going to say.
Till Yo-Yo Punch Snow.
Yeah.
That was definitely not within the character of the show.
Yeah, that was 1/3 of the way to knockout.
Yeah.
Gotta switch it up.
Gotta switch it.
Yo-Yo,
up.
you'd be the expert at
She
Switch.
just didn't realize how strong she was.
Yeah, I wasn't aware. Even though I fought a changeling.
Yeah. Yeah, how are you not aware of this?
I don't know. She doesn't get in fights very often.
So how did you guys feel about Mayor Lantis after now, like before you went there, you
Those
had all these
NPCs.
theories, and then after...
There were fewer creepy murder ponies than I thought there would be.
That's true.
I'm gonna be real. I was kind of disappointed because I really thought it was gonna go dark. And I wanted us to try to stay wholesome, and you were gonna make it unwholesome, and we had to try to make it as wholesome as we could.
I really liked it. I thought I was
No,
really
it was
happy
good.
it
It was
didn't go dark.
I was
really
afraid
happy
that you were
it
actually going to be like, Cult
Yeah.
Thulu is a thing now. Dylan, you did this.
I was kind of hoping for it. That's what I mean. Like that's what I'm like referring to. Like not like dead bodies and that kind of unwholesome. I mean like the plot itself lend itself to there is a darker force coming.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
and
what do
then
you guys
maybe
think
listen.
is happening with all the ponies that have the same cutie mark?
I'm super
That's
creeped
weird.
out by that.
That is weird.
That was creepy.
Well, if a pony has sex with a rock, then they're only going to have one pony input, so it's probably just going to be a lot of the same pony, so it's like cloning yourself.
They were clonies, as someone in chat pointed
Yeah,
out.
like the
Cloning.
clonies.
Yeah, what
I
are your
love the
theories on that?
cloning.
Is it clonies?
That's
You,
what they
I
were.
still think they're all clonies or something.
I
I do
definitely
too.
think.
Clonies.
interesting.
Yeah, like clone troopers.
Well, what is it? Can you tell us since the campaign's over?
I don't know. What if we want to play more?
That's fair.
Yeah, true.
If we don't ever plan to play more, then I could tell you. But
But I won't.
And why was it a triangle?
why is it a triangle?
Yeah.
You said it's equal, like equal on all sides, but there's a lot of shapes that are equal on all
It's an
sides.
equilateral triangle.
Because they were unicorns, Pegasus, and Earth ponies. It's three sides to the triangle, I assume. But then, of course, the
Or-
Alicorn sits in the middle in her high tower, unequal. Just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. What is
No, I loved that you guys questioned that because there is something to question there.
There's a lot to question there. There was a lot messed up with that society.
Oh
Like-
yeah.
Like the fact that for some reason they feel the need that they have to adapt to the color green at all times, and there's no creativity in this. Like,
green?
there's nothing wrong, but like you'd think that there'd be like one creative pony, which lends themselves to a hive mind mindset where there's just no creativity.
They all have the same cutie mark.
It was really hard for me not to go into every Wizard of Oz song ever created.
Yeah.
I wish you would have.
Kind of going for the Wizard of Oz thing at the beginning where like you think that alicorn's like a real thing, but it's really just being controlled by something else.
That's where I was like, there's no place
That
like
would've
home.
been
There's no
funny.
place like home. I was like, this is the right time.
Yeah. You always use that though. You
I
use
know.
that in the just in the corner of your head. I don't know.
This is really fun though. I had a blast.
Mhm.
Like every nitpick I have is literally the tiniest little things. I really did have fun playing this and in this campaign. And I loved like the little like subtleties of like it felt like an episode that we were playing through each time because like you'd have like your beginning like tension or something that's thrown at the group, and then like the fun overarching like us being just weirdos trying to figure something out, and then like the heavy hitter like finale every single episode, and everything had a closing off up until the third episode because I mean obviously that was a two-parter.
Well,
Yeah.
you occasionally have to have two-parters.
Yeah, definitely.
And I told you guys in the beginning that I was pretty sure that the third and fourth episode will intertwine.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I
I liked it
it.
a lot.
Because I wanted that whole epic journey across Equestria because it's kind of fun. And then
Mhm.
the exploration of finding like a new place where I could have my own lore and be like a little bit more at
Yeah.
ease with it,
A
where no
whole
one's going to
new
like give me shit for
world,
it.
A new
I
fantastic
love-
point
They still
of
tried.
view.
Oh, yeah, they still did for sure.
I love that you had your own lore also
Mhm.
because
It was fun.
then we couldn't just rely on what we actually know about the show, and we had to use our own like interpretations and our own critical thinking to figure out what could actually be happening.
I'm sorry that Emerald Light was so useless. She's supposed to be kind of like naive and not kind of a little clueless because she doesn't really know what's going on, and her
Yeah.
mom never really tells her anything.
Why
'Cause they're clones.
would she be second in line to the throne? She's terrible. We need to depose her. She is useless.
There's some
Oh,
other
what is
issues
that?
with this society in general.
Apart from the throne thing where they've got a monarch and a throne and then they're equal, but sure, that too.
What makes me worried is that it took them 1,000 years and not one person's questioned, what's past that forest? And like, what's on the upper world? Like, not one person was like scientifically thinking, like,
So I think some ponies knew what was up there, but the last they had heard was that Discord was like destroying
That's
the
true.
world, right?
That's
so
true.
like they were there to protect themselves, and they built like this gorgeous, beautiful city, and they were still allowed to swim around and go out into like the other area. So it wasn't like that they were trapped in just that Emerald City
that
area.
makes sense.
But so if that gives you a little bit more mindset.
Yeah,
None
no,
of them
that
in
helps a
thousands
little
of
bit.
years had gone,
Yeah.
you know what? It's been a long time. We should have an explorer up top.
True, that is a thing.
They're a
That'd
messed up
be
society.
no.
There might be a reason or two.
They're a messed up society.
Yeah.
They need some scout ventures to go and explore for them.
Dun, dun, dun.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to say anything.
No, wait.
Also-
I don't know. I don't want to say anything. It's like, why did you say something then? You obviously want to say.
I was going to say something. I was like, well, and then I was like, no, I shouldn't say it.
So, Aaron, how was your first Roll for It campaign?
It was fun. I have a very hard time not jumping in. I have a very hard time coming up with such good descriptions as all of you guys have. I also have a hard time not talking in character.
It is a thing that you catch up on. Like
I
the
don't
more
get the whole just talking thing and then talking in character. I can only talk in character.
I think some people do that though. Some people describe it like they stay in character the whole time. So I think
Yeah.
that's perfectly acceptable.
Yeah,
Okay,
it
good.
depends on the tone of the show and stuff. Like obviously in the show that we just did on Saturday, just around the corner, most of us were in character nearly all the time. We
Okay.
only hopped in and out very occasionally.
Okay. Well, I found it was really fun. It's a fun, imaginative. I really like the Staying Wholesome. That's my pocket with the little kids content that I do. So I just went back to like every little kid, like Dragon's Tales, Rainbow Fish, every little kid cartoon I've ever worked on. I'm like, oh, I know this content. Blink.
Dragon Tales is like definitely on that level.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah.
A Dragon Tales tabletop RPG would make a lot of sense actually.
I don't
It
know
would.
this IP.
You don't know the IP?
I wish.
It's basically like this little brother and little sister, Emmy and something, and they both go on journeys together. They have friends who are dragons. It's weird. Yeah, that's the basic concept of it. They have friends who are dragons, and they go to Dragontail, and they go on a
imaginary world. Mm-hmm.
So the title for that would be Friendships is Dragons.
Friendships. Yes, exactly.
Something like that.
Dragons are magic.
Did you guys like the system generally, though, or were there things that you would think that you'd want to change?
For a simple system, I liked it. I would say that, like, I think there are better systems, but better systems require more complex. It's certainly the best simple system that I've played because it allows you to do a few things.
I feel like it's a good system also if they're for like younger kids, if they want to maybe even get into GMing, could learn the system very easily to create their own fun campaigns in the universe of My Little Pony. So like, so it's like really simple enough to where a kid could learn the few pages of the rule book and then come up with their own ideas and then get their friends involved. Like I think it's a very good introduction to GMing.
They also have a bunch of pre-made campaign books too. So if you're like a parent and you wanting to run your kid through it or something and you're not like as creative, like some people just aren't creative at coming up with concepts. They do have some pre-made like journeys that you can go on, which are really cool.
There's also, I think from my perspective, like the simpler a system isn't necessarily like a measure of quality, but it's more just a question of like how far it skews to narrative storytelling versus a minis campaign, like a minis war game. And I think this one like heavily skews to that side of it being very narrative, like freeform storytelling with some of the constraints of the rules, which isn't a good like a necessarily a bad thing, but it's like my personal jam. Like I really enjoy that.
Yeah.
Well, I think to an extent you can get something more complex that tries to model, the mechanics here slightly better. Like personally, I think that large dice pool systems are generally better because they give you an idea of what your character's good at, as opposed to like flat D20 systems or whatever, which is like you can do a 1 or a 20. Hey, it's a crapshoot. Because it means that you have a better idea what your character can do without having to necessarily make the system like less narrative. Like Blades in the Dark is a great example of that. It works as a dice pool system without being too complex, at least in the very base mechanic sense. Built on top of that, they have a very, on top of that, they have a very mechanical
your preference
complex.
in this case is specifically towards the difference between a flat probability versus a non-flat probability. Yeah, and non-flat probabilities are easy to achieve with dice pool systems, but you can also do a 3d6 or a 2d6 system like Powered by the Apocalypse, which aren't flat probabilities.
Or Stars About Numbers.
For some stuff. Stars Out the Number is also partially
Attack
flat
rolls uses flat and skills are
but in this system, it is both. Because if you're only rolling one thing, it is a flat probability.
That's
but if you're rolling both, you start piling them. Which is interesting.
You get 2.
Yeah, for a lot of the stuff you're doing, you get 2 dice.
That's one of the things I like about it. If it's as a simple system, it also brings that in, which is the only simple system I know of that does that. It's like, hey...
What about the friendship token system?
I don't necessarily like 3 friendship tokens for some things,
so
because it's like, you can pass anything.
We also skewed it very heavily towards being able to do things like that because we refreshed our tokens every session, which you're not supposed to do.
Yeah. I liked it.
Actually gone 4 weeks without getting any tokens, and that would limit you to the number of times you could actually spend 3 friendship
per campaign. So it would be for instance, the first episode and second episode were separate campaigns. The third and the fourth would be one single campaign.
Yeah.
If you thought about it like that. And those would be
that's also like up to the storyteller's discretion in that case. Like you can decide when a campaign starts and ends. And so in this case, we did not have friendship tokens as a scarce resource. They were a really plentiful one, which changes the dynamic of how we use them.
Yeah. I think also the 3 friendship token thing works quite well for like younger kids and stuff, because it's like, I've only got this one way of doing things and I fail the roll. 3 friendship tokens, I can pass that. Whereas we, as more experienced players and stuff, and more used to other systems, we have like plenty of ways we can go about something. We're fully aware that like, you can go about something in many different ways, and if we fail at something, we can try a different thing. We don't necessarily need the 3 friendship tokens to succeed, but in some cases it does hamper us, because we can be like, we need to research what this terrible disease could be. Can I check my memory? I mean, sure, it's going to be a really tough 3 friendship tokens. Yeah, you know this disease already, and everything about it. God damn it. Which kind of limits it to an extent. I think that it's not terrible. I just think that for more experienced players, you generally get more mileage out of not having necessarily like an auto-pass system. But for newbies, it's much better.
It's definitely made and catered towards the younger audience.
Totally.
Mm-hmm. It's also just a different type of storytelling. Like, auto-success can mean different things to different people.
Yeah, and I don't think I was always giving you every, like, detail per se. It would just like every detail, like with the question you asked, I gave you the answers type of thing.
I would be interested to see what it's like when it is a less common resource. Like when we actually have to like make a decision of like, is this worth spending all 3 tokens on it? Like, do we really want to succeed on this?
So I feel like we could game the system really easily with the friendship tokens. Like we would just hoard them up whenever we absolutely needed to get a story element done. And we're like, all right, 3. It's whatever we wanted it to be. Like,
if you got them a lot less frequently, I can see that being a lot more useful, because the difference between like 2 and 3 would suddenly become like a, that's a big difference. That's a whole friendship token. You wouldn't get that for ages. I can totally understand it being a better system for more long-term play for more experienced people if you were getting them less frequently.
I think for me, I knew we only were going to have 4 episodes.
Oh, totally.
4-hour sessions. It's like, it's hard to... I wanted to make sure that you guys had enough to be able to complete everything that we were trying to accomplish. But and
it also like speeds up storytelling too, because we can get to solutions faster.
Exactly. And that's kind of like what I was hoping to accomplish. And I think some episodes you did use a lot of your tokens and some you didn't. But yeah, I think playing in the future with it not being that way could be really, really interesting.
I think it would be for like a more long-term campaign.
You get rewarded tokens for certain things too. So you would not maybe get them refreshed, but like you'd still be getting tokens throughout, depending on what you were doing.
Did I get a token for giving a fish a makeover or something today? I can't remember.
You might have. I don't remember.
We got a token at some point.
Yeah.
Oh, it was when we were cleaning the crab.
Oh yeah.
Everyone came together.
Oh, that's what it was. It was when you're all holding hooves. It says that you're supposed to give like tokens as rewards for certain things when like you work as friend, like when you use friendship to complete tasks.
So if you're like only giving them, if you're only refreshing them very occasionally, then it makes sense that you occasionally get the odd one here and there for friendly moments. Which is good. I think it's a good place to end the after show, since we're like 27 minutes now. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed. Friendship is magic. And remember, friendship is magic. And Cult Cthulhu is out there. Until next time,
Crab Cthulhu now?
Oh, Crab Cthulhu. Yeah, sorry.
Don't appropriate that culture. Come on.
Yeah, polyculture appropriation is terrible. So sorry, crustaceans. Until next time, though. May the dice roll over in your favor.